Hello, adventurers, travelers. Welcome once again to my channel. I'm WitchyTQ, and I'm here to tell you things I wish I knew sooner in Fae Farm. If you've played games like Stardew Valley or Animal Crossing, a lot of mechanics will be second nature in Fae Farm. But if this is your first game of this style, some things may take a bit to figure out, and that's okay. Make sure you utilize your game menu, your keybind or controller settings, and feel free to ask questions in the comments below as I might include them in future videos. I'm going to try to make this video with as little to no major spoilers as possible, so you don't have to worry about ruining your first experience, but actually get to make it more enjoyable. Let's start the video off strong. For those who haven't yet started the game or are in really early game and might be thinking about starting over, on the very first in-game day, your energy does not run out, regardless of what the bar at the top might say, and neither does the time. You can go fishing, chop down trees, forage, all to your heart's content. You can do as much as you want in that first day prepping for your new life on the farm. But keep in mind, the game doesn't start saving your progression until after reaching Chapter 2 by completing Pearl's quest about Florins. Something else of note before starting up the game is that whatever name you choose for your Phoenix Lab account is going to be your character's name. And if you don't make an account, it will use your Steam or Switch username. I didn't mind it using WitchyTQ, but if you're like some of my friends, your Steam name might be a little interesting at the moment. When I first booted up Fae Farm, my gaming instincts from a long history of farming sims immediately took over. I started foraging like a wild animal and refused to sell anything I found just in case I needed it later. While this isn't necessarily a bad thing, because you will need items for main quests and insects come in handy for the conservatory to fulfill magical needs. A little side note, make sure to keep your bees. There are some things I would recommend you do at the start of the game to make money. First is to pick up any berries you see. These can be cooked on the fire and sold for an easy 200 and something florin at the market stands, and they respawn every day. This is an easy way to get you started. You'll also want to make sure you talk to NPCs for side quests. Some are really easy to complete and pay out about 500 florin. A specific quest to do with selling items is given by Pearl and her quest line for a market stand. Every day you can take items and sell them at the market stands in town square, but there's only 32 spots per day, and if you're like me, it would take forever to empty your currently stocked shed. Pearl's quest allows you to sell additional items from home, adding to the available per day selling limit. However, the additional stand does cost 2,000 florin to unlock. Gotta spend money to make money, or so I'm told. Speaking of selling items and making money, make sure you craft a gem polisher as early as you can. Polished gems are by far the best way to make early money because you come across rough citrine in the mines almost right away and higher quality rough gems as you progress through the main story. Just make sure you craft enough seals before going wild with your gem empire. What are seals, you might be wondering? Well, they're not the animal. Seals are needed to unlock the mine teleportation option from floor to floor, and since every floor prior to the one you want to go to must also be unlocked, it's a good idea to get these crafted as you progress the main storyline and make your gem business a lot easier. You can see what seals are needed for each floor in the game's dungeon menu. You'll also need seals to unlock the teleportation pedestals around the island. My recommendation is to unlock the homestead and saltwater mine ones first, while the others are unlockable at your discretion. While you're exploring, you might also end up in a bit of a pickle, especially since right now it can be a little tough to get back on land while swimming. If you do end up somewhere that you can't get out of, or you just don't want to be, you can use the Help I'm Stuck button in the main menu. This next bit of info is probably the most important thing I wish I knew way earlier in my playthrough. Not all menus pause the game. Like most games, I assumed when I was crafting, cooking, or decorating my home, the game would pause the day for me. But oh boy was I wrong. I was wondering why my days felt so short, and it turns out the only time the game will pause is when you have the main settings menu open and all the included submenus, or when you're talking to an NPC and in their shop. Thankfully, you don't get penalized for staying up past your bedtime. The day simply moves on to the next and you wake up cozy at home. If you want to double check if the game is paused before you get up for a stretch break, just check for the paused icon next to the game clock. In relation to not being punished for staying up too late, you also don't get punished for succumbing to the monsters, known as jumbles, in the mines. You just get teleported back to the start of the mine, but all your hard-earned items remain in your pockets. While the game might not pause while you're decorating your home, it's still really important to do that. The game's mechanic on how to increase your max energy, health, and mana is based off the decor in your home. The more relaxing items you have around, the more energy you'll have to spend in a day, and this is honestly so helpful early game. It also replenishes your stats for you while at home. So if you're ever going to take a break and pause the game, you might as well do this in your house so you can regain some energy and other stats. The local carpenter Aspen also has a side quest where he wants you to decorate and increase your overall coziness level, so it's a win-win. Aspen is also who you speak to about upgrading your house. The first upgrade costs 2,000 florin, 25 copper ore, and 25 beech log. You're welcome. Decorating outside is also a lot of fun, and while it may not affect your character's stats, it's still enjoyable and one of my favorite parts of the game. My tip in this regard is to do with flower beds. I was super excited to use my flower beds as an extension to my decor, and found out that flowers cross-pollinate to create hybrids. If you played Animal Crossing, you already understand this mechanic. And just in case you don't, make sure you leave an empty space between them so they have room to make these gorgeous new colors. And don't pick the flowers if you're working on making hybrids, as they only cross-pollinate when fully bloomed. Flowers also leave their seeds behind after you harvest them, so don't go wild with buying a bunch of seeds like I did, because you won't need to replant them. Some quests require you to decorate your home or farm, and you might not like the aesthetic of what's been required of you. That's okay. After the quests have been turned in, you can just reclaim your items. All decor and craftable items in Fae Farm can be reclaimed after being made, and you get all your materials back, not just a little bit of them. This is a great touch and something I wish was in more games. On your farm, you'll also want to make sure, much like in Stardew Valley, you don't get rid of all your wild grass, as this will feed the first two animals available to you, chickoos and cottontails, on sunny days while they wander around outside. The animals will need daily care, like petting and possibly brushing, so make sure you give them all the care they need before 7 p.m. in-game. That's when they head off to bed, and you won't be able to interact with them until the next day. Well, thank you so much for watching my video. I hope these tips help you enjoy Fae Farm even more than I think you already will. And if you haven't yet, please like the video and consider subscribing to the channel. And I hope you have a very magical day.